Welcome back to This Week in Film. It's the weekly podcast, apparently, where we get together every week and talk about the movies we've seen, or once a month. I'm Nick Ferranto, joined as always by Midwest Matt Lauer. Matt, how is it going?
It's going great, Nick. How are you?
I'm doing all right. It's been about 4 weeks since we recorded an episode, but to the viewer at home, they only missed 2 for our summer vacation.
I think they're listeners more than viewers. Although I do like the idea of someone at home just staring at their stereo. Or
Angrily.
their phone or whatever they stare. Do people have stereos anymore? Is that a thing?
Sure, yeah.
All right. Don't stare at your controls if you're driving.
Staring at the
dial.
Yeah, I don't think cars have dials anymore.
Welcome back to This Week in Film, the podcast where we don't know anything about technology.
Yeah. So I was using my Walkman yesterday. All right, Matt, I assume you've seen a few movies.
You are right.
And I've seen 2 in the last 4 weeks. I took a break. So I think this is going to be a Matt-heavy episode, and I'm looking forward to it.
I haven't even counted the movies I've seen. Hang on a second. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Technically, I saw 6, but I watched Independence Day over Skype with Scott, and I don't think we even heard a single line in the entire movie, so I won't review that one.
Great. We should do a commentary track for Independence Day. That's a masterpiece. And all right. Well, what did you see, Matt?
Oh, well, I started with I saw a movie called Hellbaby. I saw a movie.
Oh, I've seen Hellbaby.
Did you?
I think so. With what's the main guy's name?
Cordry. Rob Cordry.
Yeah, Rob Cordry's in that. Ken Marino.
I don't know.
It's from a couple of years ago, right?
Yeah, it's something that popped up on some form of media where I see people's movies.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I saw Hellbaby.
All right. Something tells me you're going to have a different take on it than I did. I saw Godzilla, King of the Monsters.
Oh, finally.
I saw Toy Story 4.
Oh.
I saw Tremors.
Oh.
And I saw Spider-Man, Far From Home.
Oh, okay. Great. You did see it.
Yes, I did.
I still haven't. It's been like 2 weeks, and I still haven't seen a Spider-Man movie in the movie theater.
Well, what did you see, Nick?
Well, you're in luck, because I saw the movie Star Trek from 2009, and I watched FernGully, The Last Rainforest from 1992.
Oh, God. My name is Betty. My logic is erratic. Potato in the jacket and toys in the attic.
Yeah. Yep. That movie features a rapping Robin Williams because it's 1992.
Yeah, rest in peace.
Yeah.
So what should we start with?
Let's start with one of your many movies.
Oh, fair enough. How about we go ahead and start with Hellbaby? Because I literally have one note under this, and it says, not funny.
I liked it. But it stars all the comedians that I like.
You know what? It includes some comedians I used to like till I saw Hellbaby.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I realized as much as it offends me when a movie thinks it's really smart, it offends me even more when people think they're funny and they're not trying at all.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Although I didn't think the movie...
Go ahead.
Although
Kumail Nanjiani I still like, because he was barely in the movie and the only joke was that he was the cable man. And so I'm going to go ahead and keep enjoying him. Everyone else can just fuck off.
I remember enjoying it. I was like, this is fun. This is fun. But it stars like, did you ever watch the show Children's Hospital?
No.
Oh, it's like the whole cast of Children's Hospital, which is a great show. It's like one of those 15-minute long Adult Swim live action shows.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, it takes place in a hospital for children. And it's very silly. And this movie was like if those guys got together to make a horror movie. And I got it. It was in my wheelhouse.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think it was perfect or anything, but I definitely remember enjoying it.
Yeah, Karina was laughing, but then she'd look over at me every now and again and be like, "Oh man, I'm sorry." Like, just giving death daggers to the like death stares to the TV.
Yeah, arms crossed.
Yeah, I took a shower at some point down in the middle of it. I was like, that was the best part of the movie.
Isn't there like
yeah, go ahead.
Isn't there like a nudity scene with the one girl from Garfunkel and Oates?
Is that who that is? Okay. Yeah, I heard of
I can't
Garfunkel
remember her
and
name
Oates
right now.
a long time ago, but yeah, where she's just standing there naked talking to him in the bathroom. She plays the sister of his wife. Yeah, so the plot of this movie is that a man and a woman move into a house, and then a lot of annoying people visit. Oh, and she gets some possessed baby inside her. But anyway, That's it. There you go. Good enough. This movie's not worth more time.
The guy who was in that, Ken Marino, he made another movie about a demon that comes out of his ass, and I can't remember what it's called. But it's like one of those movies I've always wanted to watch but just haven't yet because it looks silly. And damn, I can't remember what it's called. It'll come to me. But all right. You want to talk about another one of your movies?
Yeah, sure. How about Tremors?
Tremors.
All right, so Tremors stars Kevin Bacon and Fred Ward, and a young lady who wasn't in a whole lot else, and a very young Ariana Richards, who most people probably don't know, but was also a young child, whatever, in Jurassic Park. She was a little girl, Lex, in Jurassic Park. Yep. So Tremors is a movie taking place out in, I don't know if they actually specify the state, but I think it's Nevada.
It's generic Southwest.
Yeah. And what's going on in this movie is that people in a pretty quaint little town discover giant underground monsters. And it's a lighthearted horror movie. And this movie is just so great. It's like one of my favorite things. And one thing I never really realized before, but it had been a long time since I had seen Tremors with anyone who had not seen it before. So I was watching it with kind of fresh eyes. And there are a lot of tiny little things in this movie. Like, this movie's actually pretty flawless. For as not, it's not an Oscar type thing. And for as non-serious as it is, it's actually put together with a fair amount of care. And there are a lot of little stage setting things, like drop dialogue that actually is really relevant to what's going on. And little shots that are like, there's a camera shot lingering for just like half a second on the tracks of the caterpillar, the big machinery thing. Yeah. And like, that's really early in the movie, but it ends up being their way out of town towards the end of the movie. And some really nice shots and little tricks of camera stuff. Like, there's one moment where in this movie a car gets kind of sucked into the ground, and the headlights are there's just a shot of it where the headlights are shooting into the air, and then the car's been pulled under completely because one of the headlights disappears and then the other disappears. And there's a shot where these people are pole vaulting from like one rock to another, and I'm like, oh, that's actually a really nice shot. The worst part of this movie is actually just the music. The music's terrible, but everything else is really nice. You got a lot of charming characters, and like the two main guys have really good, like, they're not on stage, so it's not stage chemistry, but whatever it's called in movies, film chemistry. No, that's not right. Screen chemistry. There we go. Yeah. So, I don't have a whole lot more to say about it because there's not a whole lot more to the plot. But it's a lot of fun, and I'd recommend it in a heartbeat to anybody. And really anybody. There's not a kind of people that I would say, don't watch Tremors, you're not going to like it.
Yeah. I've never come across anyone who has seen it that didn't like it.
Yeah.
Everybody, it seems to be a universally liked movie.
It's like the original Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah, yeah. And much like the rest of the Pirates of the Caribbean, unnecessary sequels.
Yeah. Except they don't cost $300 million.
Yeah. Or call their villains the ass blasters.
Well, they don't do that in the Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I was saying the Tremors sequels didn't cost $300 million. But okay. You're right. They do have ass blasters. I think that's the third one.
I think you're right. And then the fourth one, they go back in time, right?
Yeah, I think so. And then I think at some point there was a TV series.
I think you're right. I never watched the show.
Yeah, let's just pretend that there's one Tremors. It's like the Matrix.
But yeah, it's a pretty flawless movie. It's very entertaining. I don't care for much of the beginning, like the setting up stuff. Like once it gets really going, it really takes off. But like the beginning is kind of boring. Like I get, what's Kevin Bacon's job? They're like sewage workers.
No,
like
they're
septic.
They're
workers?
random handymen. They just kind of go from place to place fixing stuff for people.
And but that never comes back into play again. Like their ability to fix things, they just kind of survive to the end of the movie. Spoiler alert. And they just kind of make it, but like they don't do it because of any of their skills. They're just
no. In terms of what they're doing being kind of relevant to the rest of the movie, or what it has to do with the plot, is that we're kind of seeing the layout of the town and the setup with these monsters through their eyes because they're trying to leave town to venture out and do something better with their lives. And so while they're trying to get out of town, they keep running across all the people who've been killed by these monsters. And there are a lot more deaths in this movie than I realized. There are horror movies that come out today that don't have anybody die in them, and this is the opposite of that. But it's really lighthearted and fun.
Yeah, it's a fun movie. It's great. We watched it not too long ago, and it totally holds up. But I totally agree about the music. It's that mid-'90s or early 90s synthesizer and twangy guitar.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and like harmonica.
Yeah. It's what you expect from a movie that takes place in the Southwest.
Sort of. Yeah, just that one note.
Yep. Over and over again.
It's like a C sharp all the time. What was I going to say? Just lost the... Oh, yeah. One of the reasons it does hold up real well, too, is because this is, back in the day of nothing but practical effects. And the practical effects are good.
They're great. Like the giant worm thing looks gross and real enough. And what do they call it? A graboid?
Graboid.
Yeah. And like the shots of it like moving through the earth are really cool.
Yeah.
Like the practical effects are phenomenal. Like when the one thing explodes, like that's really cool and gross. And then when I guess it's the last one that like slams through the side of the mountain and then falls.
Yeah.
Like, that's disgusting and awesome.
Yeah, it totally works. Well, and like so the design of these creatures are like they're giant worms with beaks that have smaller snake-like tongue things that come out of their mouth. And the snake-like tongue things that come out of the mouth have like a fair amount of personality to them. Like at one point it kind of growls at the camera, and it works. They're pretty menacing for worms.
All right. Well, if that's all you got for Tremors.
Yeah, that's it.
All right. Well, then I'll talk about one of my movies now.
Go for it.
So I watched Star Trek from 2009.
Sorry, I was expecting you to do FernGully, but I like the idea that you're saving it. Yeah.
Yeah. So Star Trek is the J.J. Abrams reimagining of the Star Trek universe, starring Chris Pine as Captain Kirk, Zachary Quinto as Mr. Spock, and Eric Bana as the Romulan villain Nero. And this is a good movie. This movie is a lot of fun. Like, it changes everything about Star Trek, but I don't care. There hasn't been a good Star Trek movie in forever and ever. And this movie is already 10 years old, which kind of blows my mind. I like this movie quite a bit. Basically, the plot of the movie is it's young Captain Kirk going on his first mission, and stuff happens, and he becomes captain of the Enterprise, and they have to save the Earth from Eric Bana's bad guy character. And they do. And it's great. It's a lot of fun. I watched it with my son and my daughter, and my son thought it was a lot of fun. It's his first experience with Star Trek, so that was good because I like Star Trek a lot. And he seemed to enjoy it, so that was a lot of fun for me. And it's a fun movie. Have you seen the first Star Trek, Matt?
Yeah, I saw this movie once with my friend Nick, who forgot all about it.
We saw this together?
Yeah, we did. And I think we both had the same experience with it when we saw it then. So the first time you saw it, because it didn't start out great. And I think both of us were like, oh God, this is kicking in with the cliches right away. And Chris Pine's going to be really annoying. And then the movie just kept getting better and better. And by the end, we were like, this movie's a lot of fun. Huh.
Yeah.
And it was like the opposite of a lot of movies that we've seen. Because instead of getting worse, it got better.
Yeah,
definitely, it was fun.
Definitely the weakest part of it is the beginning, especially when he's like a child and he's listening to the Beastie Boys and having the car race with the future cop. But because the movie doesn't suck, it's forgivable where you're like, this is just kind of fun. And then when he's like a little older and he's like gets into a bar fight outside of where they're building the Enterprise, because apparently they build spaceships on Earth, and he's like kind of a dick to everybody. But like his character grows, like he becomes better, and like you really like him. Like I really like Chris Pine. He's really grown on me like a whole lot. Like, I never disliked him, but like now whenever I see that he's involved in something, I'm like, ooh, Chris Pine, which was really disappointing for that Wrinkle in Time movie, which was awful because he's in that.
Right.
And it was Oprah.
Well, yeah,
Oprah.
I feel similarly about Chris Pine. In pretty much everything, I've always expected to not like him because he just looks like a douchebag. But then all the time I'm like, no, this guy's a good actor and he's charming and, he's grown on me too.
Yeah, he's good in Wonder Woman. He's good in all three of the Star Trek movies. I don't care for the second Star Trek movie, the Into Darkness. I think that's just a bad movie. But the third one, it's not good. You never saw the second one or the third one?
The second one.
It's not good. You're better off just going back and watching The Wrath of Khan, because it's the same movie but done well. And then the third movie, Star Trek Beyond, is a fun ass movie. Like, I don't know why it isn't more liked by people. It's like a fun action movie that takes place with these Star Trek characters who are pretty well established at this point. And there's no reason that there shouldn't be 5 of these Star Trek movies, because, I mean, the characters are really good, the actors are excellent, and
Did
the
they make
special
a
effects are
fourth
fun.
one?
No, they just made the 3. And the third one came out, I think, 2 years ago, but there are no plans for a fourth one. They're like concentrating on their streaming shows now, like the Star Trek Discovery and the Picard show that's coming out.
I didn't even know there were Star Trek shows on right now.
Yeah, apparently Discovery's supposed to be very good, but I'm not paying for CBS All Access or whatever it's called, so I'm probably not going to see it.
Is it a show that's only online?
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah. But it's supposed to be excellent. People are raving about it. So, like, the people who like Star Trek are raving about it. But they're also the people who are paying to see it. So, I don't know if that plays into it. But yeah, like, this Star Trek movie from 2009, even the bad guy, Eric Bana, plays like this over-the-top Romulan. And every one of his lines is just him shouting, and it's terrific. Where he's got like this one line where he's like arguing with Leonard Nimoy, because Leonard Nimoy's in this movie too, and he plays like old Spock who's come back in time, and he represents the original Star Trek continuation timeline, because this is like a new timeline because they're relaunching the whole thing. And anyway, Spock gets into an argument with Nero. And Spock's like, "You're mistaken. That never happened." And Eric Bana's like, "Don't tell me it didn't happen. I saw it happen." And it's just a great line, and it's delivered so angrily. And like, I wish that was a part of my everyday uses. Like, "Don't tell me it didn't happen. I saw it happen."
It has happened. I watched it happen. I saw it happen. Don't tell me it didn't happen.
I love it. And then he's got a great, later in the movie, he's got a great moment where Spock is flying a spaceship towards his unbelievably large bad guy ship. His ship is so unnecessarily large, it's ridiculous. But Spock is flying towards it with this tiny ship from the future, and he just starts yelling, "Fire everything." And I'm like, who are you shouting commands to? You're just in the middle of this giant ship. Who can hear you? So, you know, it's got its flaws, but they're charming.
Man, I don't remember any of that stuff.
You should go back and watch it. It's a fun action movie.
I probably should. Perhaps I will.
But yeah, that's really all I got to say about Star Trek 2009. Worth going back to see, and if you haven't seen it, go see it.
Go see it? Go to the theaters. It's
go to the theaters.
Not going to be there.
Ask if it's still playing. Imagine going up to like a ticket counter and just going, "One for Star Trek, please," and just seeing what the guy says. Like, what? One for Star Trek. It's not playing.
You got the Matrix?
Yeah. Do you mean John Wick? No.
What? No.
The Matrix with Keanu Reeves and Larry Fishburne.
All right. So I guess that's the end of that joke. All right. So I guess I could talk about Godzilla, King of the Monsters.
Good. I'm excited to hear about this, because this may be the only experience I have with the movie.
For your sake, I hope it is. Spoiler alert, it sucked.
Oh, it did?
Yeah, absolutely. And
it's a shame. You were looking forward to it.
I was. And I mean, this okay, so it's been like a month since I've seen this, so it's my my recollection may be a little rusty. But I went into this just looking for, like a bad movie anyway. I mean, I expected it to be pretty hokey and just to see some monsters fight. And there is that. There is a lot more monster fighting. There are more monsters. But everything that was really done well in the first one, which was just the monster stuff, and it was just spread out across 2 hours. So, it's like you don't see a lot of Godzilla. He's not on screen a whole lot. But when you see him, it's awesome. In this version, or in the second one, when you see the monsters, it's just like, it's a lot of like shots that are all the way back so you can see everything happening on screen at once. And that, as pleasing as that may sound, that's really what the opposite of that is what made the first one work so well. In the spots where it did work really well, it was like you had a sense of how big the monsters were because you can only see part of them on screen, or you're at angles that are, from the people's angle. You're down in the street looking up at this giant thing. And in this case, you're just like backed all the way up and you're like, oh, okay, so this kind of looks like a video game where, like Neo Geo or something where, you got one monster on one side and one monster on the other side and they're street fightering it up.
The health bar above them.
Yeah. Yeah. And the bad stuff about this movie, I mean, other than that, like just the stuff that I expected to be bad, like the dialogue and the plot, it's just so much worse. So much worse than I could have even anticipated. And by that, I mean, like, it's corny, but I also mean it's boring as hell. Like, this movie's got nothing to offer. And then again, when it comes back to the action, I mean, a lot of my complaints here are about the action because that's the part I was expecting to be okay. And so it's, as bad as the rest of it is, I think the only reason it pissed me off so much is because the stuff that I expected to be good was bad too. And so one of the other things that makes it not work as well as the original is that everything seems to move a bit faster. And, I watched something about special effects on YouTube and they were talking about Pacific Rim and how the first Pacific Rim works really well because all the kaiju or whatever are, and the Jaegers are moving so slowly, it makes their size give you it really gives you the impact of their size. And I think there's something.
It adds a weight to it.
Yeah. And then in the second one, things move like they're just like street fighting. It's like Neo versus Captain Smith. No, Agent Smith.
Arr, it's me, Captain Smith of the Matrix.
Arr, Mr. Anderson.
I see turtles.
But yeah, I think this has a similar problem where they just lost track of what made the thing seem so cool. There's a lot of lightning breath. In the first movie, it seemed like Godzilla really has to build up a lot of energy to be able to do his lightning breath. And so it's sort of like it feels like one of those things where maybe he's got like one in him, per day or something. Here there's a lot of lightning breath. Probably the coolest part of this whole movie is Mothra. And when your coolest part of your movie is a giant moth, you're probably doing something wrong.
Now, is the Mothra in this movie a good guy or a bad guy?
He's a good guy. I mean, the movie starts out with it, and it's kind of like, I don't know, supposed to be scary, I guess, in a way, but it's really, there's not much of the movie where you're like wondering or anything.
Does Mothra have the weird Asian singers that bring it to life?
No, but there is some like weird life stuff with it. More like with it in Godzilla. And I mean, I just don't watch this movie. One of the other things
I must know more.
Well, spoiler alert for a movie you should never watch.
Uh-huh.
I think that Mothra like sings a song to Godzilla and brings him back to life at some point. I might be remembering that wrong. I might have fallen asleep and just had a dream because the movie was so bad and boring.
Is the moth like just hovering over its body, singing a song?
Yeah, I mean, like it's not singing in English or anything. It's just like making noises and rainbow stuff's coming out of it, or moth dust or something. It's like pixie dust. You're gonna end up watching this movie just to see this stuff, and you're gonna be like, "Oh, he was right. I shouldn't have watched this."
It sounds so terrible.
It really is.
What the thing that bothers me the most is that you said it's boring. Like,
oh yeah, yeah. It really
like
is.
I can do with like terrible effects or stupid effects, but like boring sounds really boring.
Yeah, and bad acting. And, one of the things I'm looking at my notes here, and some of these things I'm like, no, I don't even remember that. But like endless super planes, I don't even know what that means. Maybe it means that they have a lot of planes that crash, but they keep having more. Oh yeah, that's it. Yeah, they just had like planes can these sort of weird planes that they have. They can crash and go down, but then they have another one at the ready whenever they need it. There's just like no stakes. And for some reason, people can read way too much of the monster's behaviors. Like they're talking kind of to the camera and going like, "Oh, Godzilla's got one more punch left in him," and I'm like, "How do you know that? What are you talking about?"
What's the plot of the movie? Why does the movie happen?
I don't know. That's a very good question in a more philosophical sense. Why did this movie happen? Because money.
Yeah.
No,
which it didn't get any of, I don't think.
Let me think here. So, Vera Farmiga, who's not really trying to act, and the guy from Early Edition, who's not trying to act, are husband and wife at the beginning, and they have 2 kids, and one of their kids dies, and he retires or something, and she works for some organization that has something to do with these monsters, and then Tywin Lannister's involved somehow, and Mothra is being studied by this group, and then all the monsters get loose. I think. Okay, so I think
they just have all the monsters.
Yeah, I think they're all like they're hibernating or something in different areas of the world, and then through some sort of twisted logic, they end up waking them all up, and Ghidorah, which is like the 3-headed dragon, turns out to be like a super monster or something, and it's commanding the rest of the monsters, except for Mothra, I guess, who for some reason is a Godzilla monster. And so it's really Godzilla and Mothra versus these other monsters. But just so we're clear, they fight with Ghidorah, and the whole rest of the monsters don't do anything. Like, there's this really cool looking giant, like woolly mammoth type thing. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, hell yeah, I want to see that get in the fight. Nope. And at some point, I think they say that there are 17 monsters, but you see like 6 of them. And really all they do is somehow they travel from wherever they are to be right where Godzilla and Ghidorah are for like the last 3 seconds of this fight, so that Godzilla can be like, now you bow to me. And
Godzilla ends up being king of the monsters?
Who would have thought?
I didn't see it coming.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, and there's some sort of piece of equipment that they have that can like control them. Like the humans have a machine that can like It's never quite clear. It's like, is it communicating with them, or is it just debilitating with them, or like debilitating them? Is it some sort of sonic, like tranquilizer? You don't know. It doesn't make any sense. And it just looks like a laptop, and it's really dumb. And there's just the worst lines. Like, there's a moment where Vera Farmiga is...
Is that the girl from Stranger Things?
No, that's... I don't know what her name is. That's the kid. But Vera Farmiga is the woman who's in, like, all the Conjuring movies. And she doesn't... She has the appearance of someone who's not going to be in real movies, but somehow she is. Like, she looks...
Oh, is she the lady who looks like Robin Wright?
Kind of. Yeah, I think that would work. Yeah, you're probably thinking of the right person. Right. And to the words towards the end, or when she's about to die or whatever, she's like, "Long live the king." I'm like, what? Oh my God. It's so terrible. And I guess there must be teleportation of some sort, because I have a note here that says teleportation glossed over. I don't know what that means. It might be a bit like Game of Thrones, just like people can get wherever they need whenever they want. Oh, yeah, because they're going through this whole city, and they need to find their daughter, and they're just instantly there in spite of the fact that there's like a giant disaster going on. And there are no people. Other than the people who are characters, there are no people like in the world. Like these creatures are fighting in a city that is just empty.
Does it say what city they're destroying?
San Fran, New York. I'm not quite sure.
That's a shame, because like the best part of a Godzilla movie is all the Japanese people running away from the wreckage.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. Like, and that was part of the first one, where there was this like huge like shock and awe moment when Godzilla's getting ready to come out of the water, and the water level like drops because he's so huge that he displaced all that water, and then the people realize they have to run and whatnot. And there's just none of that. It's just nothing has any impact or matters at all. It's such shit. And the only people in this movie, as far as actors go, who are, I don't even want to say entertaining, but like at all redeeming, is there's one guy from The West Wing, the guy that plays Tywin Lannister, who's not on screen long enough at all, and the girl from Stranger Things, she's okay too. There are a lot of unnecessary jokes and like things that just aren't funny. I'm pretty sure that they say, "Oh my God, Zilla," more than once.
Oh God,
it's
Zilla.
Yeah, it's just so bad. It's so bad. That's all I got.
Like, that's in the trailer, and I just figured that was like a terrible trailer edit where they're like, "Oh, look how clever we are," but that's actually in the movie.
Oh yeah, that's in the movie.
Oh God, Zilla.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I would say if you have any other questions, go ahead and ask me. But like, as I'm trying to just remember the movie, I'm like, I got nothing.
Did you stick around for like a post-credit scene or anything?
God, no.
Because this one was supposed to set up the eventual Godzilla versus King Kong movie.
Man, if we did stick around through the credits, I can't imagine we did. I'm pretty sure that I think Karina might have said, is there an end credit scene? And I said, does it matter? And we got up.
Did she also hate the movie?
Yeah, we saw it with our friend DePauli, my old work wife. And it was DePauli and I like to see bad movies together. So we saw the first Godzilla together, and like the Jurassic World movies and stuff. And to her husband's, much respect to her husband, he had seen Fallen Kingdom, Lost World, Fallen Kingdom with us. He did not come to this. And his name's Tony. I turned to Polly at the end. I was like, it's a good thing Tony wasn't here. She's like, oh God, he would have killed us or something. Yeah, no, none of the three of us enjoyed it. It was, It was bad and
that's a shame.
Not entertaining.
That's too bad.
I mean, to say that I had more fun watching Lost World: Fallen Kingdom is accurate, and that says something.
Oh my God.
Yep.
That does say something.
Yep.
Oh, I still haven't watched that.
Yeah, well,
I was going to watch it.
We could
I was going to watch it recently, and I saw
on that one in person. In person, I am not. I'm not doing that unless you're actually physically there with me.
I was going to watch it recently, and I was like, it's like 2.5 hours long. No way.
Sure is.
How long was this movie? Was it crazy long?
I think it was 3 years. Honestly, I don't even know how long it was. It did feel really long, though. I would say it has to be at least 2 hours.
Oh, okay. I did have a question. So, like the girl from Stranger Things, she's heavily featured in the trailer, and it implies that she's got like some sort of special connection with Godzilla. Does that happen?
No.
Oh, great.
She has the laptop thing that I was talking about. So, well, I mean, she knows more about Godzilla than most people would, because for some reason she's like kind of working with her mom. Like, she's her mom's sidekick, and her mom's the one working on this like machine that communicates or tranquilizes or hypnotizes or whatever the monsters through this like laptop.
Is she the child that they're looking through the city for?
Yeah.
Okay.
Unless you're talking about clips that were from the very first minute of the movie, in which case that's her brother that they're looking for, and he dies. All sort of off screen. You just see them. It's kind of like the first scene is from the first movie while the first fight's going on, and they lost their son in that, and they were like, Alan. I don't know.
Oh, so it's like Batman versus Superman, where you get to see what Batman was doing during the fight with Zod.
Right. Yeah, except in that movie, I was misled and going, oh, this might be a decent movie after all. And in this movie, I was like, oh, no.
Yeah, when exactly did you give up on the Godzilla 2? Like, at what point did you lose all hope?
Pretty early on. I would say probably within the first half hour.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Or maybe probably sooner than that. Because I think I was bored by like maybe 15 minutes in. Whereas Batman versus Superman, I was pretty with it for maybe 40 minutes. And then I was like, what? Why was this getting such bad? Oh.
All right. So you want to talk about another one of your movies?
Sure. I don't have a lot to say about Toy Story 4, so I'll do that. Okay. This movie is awesome.
What's it?
Yeah. It somehow it feels different from the other Toy Story movies, which I haven't seen any of them since seeing the third one in the theater. But in my mind, I know that like I remember enjoying all of them, and I know that every single time I didn't expect them to be that different from one another, but that they did feel like their own movies. This one feels a little bit more like the setting and stuff seems different enough that it really feels like it doesn't feel like it fits into a formula. And it's a lot of fun, and the jokes in it go in some directions that I really like. Like, there are kind of horror elements in this movie, at least for me. Because like there are marionette puppets, but like they're meant to be creepy, and there's humor in it that is a little bit different. Like Key and Peele play two characters in this movie that have these sort of like cutaway scenes that's don't fit in a Toy Story movie. They fit in this Toy Story movie, but like that's a new element. And there are flashbacks. Like Keanu Reeves has a character, and in fact, I think you do get a bit of a flashback with Jessie, the cowgirl from the second movie. He has a bit of that too, and his character he feels a little out of place. Like he's introduced late in the movie, but he's fun, and it's a perfect role for Keanu Reeves. Because I was like, how did Keanu Reeves fit in a Toy Story movie? And he does, and it's great. This may possibly be my favorite Toy Story movie, which feels
really?
It feels a little bit strange to say because there are some laggy moments, but I don't really mind when a movie lags a little bit here and there, as long as it's not like Godzilla 2. But even with some of the downtime, it is enjoyable, and it's got an interesting sort of flow to it. There's not much Buzz Lightyear, which I didn't think I would mind because I don't like Tim Allen and I don't like Buzz Lightyear. But when he was on screen, I was like, oh, yeah, I kind of miss having this guy around now that he's here. And one of the things that I think made this movie so enjoyable is I really like what they've done with the Bo Peep character. She's really cool. I thought they had a different voice actress because it's Annie Potts that plays Bo Peep.
Really?
And that's who played her in the first three, and I didn't think that's who was doing the voice in this one, but she may have just, like, Annie Potts may be older than I want her to be, and her voice may be kind of sounding different in her older age, because I really thought that it was somebody else. But her character is just kind of philosophically different from the other characters and just kind of sees the world in a different way. And, you know, each Toy Story movie kind of addresses some sort of existential kind of question. And this one's a little bit, you know, it's got its own new question. And I've heard some people liken it to, like, what is it like to be an adult, you know, almost like toys play adults, and then they have their, like, sort of like have their children, and like what purpose do they have if the children move on and stuff. And I don't really, maybe because I don't have kids, I didn't really think about it quite the same way, but I like what's being raised here in this story. And when it comes to, you know, like the quote unquote bad guys in the movie, like what kind of questions do they raise? What's their issue and how does it work with the other characters in the movie? It's really cool. There's a lot of cool relationship stuff between the different characters. And while I think probably all the Toy Story movies have made me tear up or almost tear up, this one did too, but it wasn't like a sad scene. It was more like a, oh, that's really heartwarming kind of thing.
Okay.
And I was expecting, like, you know, like a Toy Story 3 tearjerker, which I don't actually remember. I don't remember what was so dramatic about Toy Story 3, but I remember everyone being like, oh my God, this is terribly sad. This one's not quite so terribly sad, but it is pretty, I don't know, man. It's really cool. It's really cool. And you've got Woody kind of, there are a couple things that he has to think through that I feel like when they come together, they happen a little quickly, but he's having to think through different stuff about himself. And I've never really liked Woody all that much. Like, I haven't found him to be that interesting of a character, but in this movie, I'm like, oh, okay. What he's wrestling with is pretty interesting. And I know I'm talking very vaguely about a lot of this, but that's because I don't want to spoil anything. But and the look of this movie is just nuts. Like, I think every time I've seen a Toy Story movie, I've been like, wow, that looks really good. And this is no exception. Like, it just looks amazing. And I think we saw it in 3D, and I don't think that the 3D adds anything. So, like, don't spend $15 on a ticket or whatever it costs. But I would say see it. If you have the time to see it in the theater, go ahead. If you don't, definitely see it as soon as you can once it's on video or streaming or whatever you call it.
Yeah, I've heard that it was good, but like it's like apparently not doing very well in the theaters. Like it's not doing as well as they hoped. Yeah.
Well, that's too bad.
Like Aladdin is blowing it out of the water.
Ew, people are seeing Aladdin.
Aladdin's made almost $1 billion.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow, I did not realize that.
Aladdin was unnecessarily
really disappointing.
Huge.
Oh,
it is. Yeah, I didn't see it, but it just looks so terrible.
Yeah, I've only been hearing bad things about it.
Yeah, I hear Will Smith is the best part of the movie.
I've heard that as well. That's not too encouraging for me.
All right, so then, is that all you have for?
Yeah, that's it. Go see it.
Yeah. So, FernGully, The Last Rainforest from 1992. This movie is directed by Bill Croyer, and it stars Samantha Mathis, Christian Slater, Robin Williams, Tim Curry, and Jonathan Ward, who's a guy that you've never heard of.
No.
And so basically this movie is everything that the early 90s told you was bad about the environment. And Robin Williams plays a bat who's been tested.
He's got PTSD.
He's been he's suffering from horrible PTSD, and he's escaped from a human testing lab, like a medical testing lab. He plays a bat, and they've done experiments on him, so he's all messed up. He's got like wires coming out of his head and everything that electrocute him, and he's just a lunatic. And it's basically Robin Williams playing Robin Williams. The best part about this movie is that it's only an hour and 15 minutes long.
Yeah,
which was
long hour and 15 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, this wasn't terrible. I enjoyed it. I watched it with my kids. My wife apparently has seen this movie 1 million times, and she heard it while we were watching it downstairs. She heard Christian Slater playing the pan flute, and she was like, "Are you watching FernGully?" And we were like, "Yeah." And she was like, "I want to watch FernGully." And she came running down the stairs to watch FernGully with us. So she was excited about that. This movie has a lot of musical breaks. Like, I think maybe every 10 minutes there's a song break, and at one point they stop writing original music and just start playing the human character's Walkman, and I forget the name of the song that's playing, but like there's this long dance sequence of him just lip syncing to the music playing over the Walkman's headphones, and so that's ridiculous. But
doesn't Tone Loc have a song in this?
Tone Loc does have a song for some reason. He plays like this lizard that's trying to... So the plot of this movie is Samantha Mathis, who is the girl from the Super Mario Brothers movie. She plays Daisy from the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Never saw it.
She's oh my God, you've never seen the Super Mario Brothers movie?
No.
Oh my God.
Zilla.
We'll have to rectify that, but I don't want to be a part of it.
Yeah, I suspect you wouldn't.
So she was also in Broken Arrow with Christian Slater.
Oh.
She's the chick from Broken Arrow. And anyway, so Samantha Mathis plays this fairy. Christian Slater is a fairy, and they live in this magical rainforest area called FernGully. And just outside of FernGully is is a logging company that is like destroying the rainforest, and the fairies don't know about it because they think humans are extinct, that they went extinct thousands of years ago. But little do they know, humans are alive and well and coming for them. And they've got this terrifying monster of a machine that chops down trees and turns them into plywood. And the main guy, Jonathan Ward, who plays Zach, he gets shrunk down by Samantha Mathis's fairy character, and he goes and investigates the world of the fairies. Now, if this sounds familiar to you, it's because it's the movie Avatar. It's 100% Avatar, but without any of the Dances with Wolves sequences in it. It is like if they didn't pay FernGully to use the script for Avatar, they've got a lawsuit, because it is it even ends the same with everybody gathering around their great tree while this giant robot tries to chop it down. It's so if you've seen the movie Avatar, you've seen FernGully, and if you've seen FernGully, you've seen Avatar. It goes both ways. But this movie was okay. I'd seen it a lot when I was a kid, and it does not hold up to what I remember. I remember liking it a lot when I was a kid, and then I was watching it today, and I was like, oh god, it's only an hour and 15 minutes. I can make it. And I don't want to watch it again. But my kids, they seem to really enjoy it, so that was nice.
Now, see, I had never seen this as a kid, and I've only seen this movie once, but I saw it when I was like 27. My ex liked it, or remembered liking it as a child, and she was like, "Yeah, we should watch this." It's actually probably the one thing that has us evened out a little bit, because there was a long string of me making her watch movies and finding out they were terrible, like Batteries Not Included. And she was like, "All right, well, we need to see FernGully," and boy, that. Both of us were just kind of staring at the screens with our the screen with our mouths agape, like, what is this? And then, like once Robin Williams' Bat starts rapping, I don't know if you could say that pulled us in or made us like it, but we enjoyed that moment. And then for a while, that was actually her phone ringing. Like when her phone rang, it would play Batty,
the ringtone,
scream or rapping his song. Yeah, and I have never gone back to this well. Other than that, I've run across a clip here or there when it gets referenced in other things, and it's usually the rapping bat, which is enough to go like, "Oh, well, that's the best part of that movie." But I don't remember the rest of it being any better. So here's my question for you then, since you're making the connections between that and Avatar. Which one's better?
Avatar is better. Because Avatar is more violent, and this one's like real cutesy, and also has like a cheap animation feel to it. It's from Fox. And it's definitely missing that Disney touch. Like, if you look at any of the background characters, while like in the ending sequence, like the main characters are talking, but all the characters in the background just have their mouths open, and they're just like their mouths are just open. And at one point, there's like one character who is just wearing a leaf over his privates. And it's just one leaf. Like everybody else is wearing these elaborate like dresses with a lot of midriff, but this guy's just got like a poison ivy leaf over his junk, and so it's really missing like a lot of the details.
I wonder if that's suggesting that guy doesn't have much junk.
Maybe, but if I had to choose to watch a movie again, I would choose Avatar. Even the director's cut, which is like 3 hours long, because I watched that.
A longer version?
Yeah, it's not bad. I like it. I like Avatar.
Okay.
But yeah, there's a lot of songs in this movie, and there are like a lot of unnecessary songs. Like the Tone Loc song is just out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And it's like a minute and a half too, where it's like all the songs are really short. And then at the very end, the credits start playing. My wife goes, "Is this Elton John?" And I'm like, "It can't be." And it was Elton John. It's his first motion picture song, which I guess first animated motion picture, because he did the music for Rocky V. Like he wrote a song for Rocky V, which I think was 1990.
He did the music for Lion King.
Yeah, which was I think 93 or 94. But yeah, I guess that was Elton John dipping his toes in the animated world. But it's pretty terrible, and it's full of early 90s environmental messages like, oh, you got to watch out for acid rain, pollution, all this stuff. Like the villain of the movie is the smoke monster from Lost, and he's played by Tim Curry, and he like feeds on pollution and stuff, but he existed in the caveman time, so I don't understand how he can exist back then, because there wasn't like pollution then. It doesn't make a lot of sense. But anyway, he lives on this machine that is chopping down the forests, and the main character turns the key to off, and he basically defeats Tim Curry. Tim Curry's like, "Oh, what happened to the pollution? I can't feed without the pollution." And he kind of like dries up, and then he comes back as this creepy skeleton monster, and then the main character plants a seed in its brain, and he turns into a tree. So That's how that wraps up. Yeah.
Yeah, I get what you're saying with like the non-Disney touch, because I remember like the Fox animation movies being kind of just feeling really flat.
Yeah.
And kind of like even in like their color palette, it seemed like somehow it looked like it was colorful, but it still seemed sort of muted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's a lot of weird sexual stuff that happens in this movie too that I caught. Like at one point, the main character guy falls down a hill, and he like lands in this patch of mushrooms, and he like his legs are splayed open, and then there's just this mushroom between his legs, and he's like moving it around to talk to the girl. And I'm like, oh, that's suggestive a little bit, but maybe I'm reaching here.
And then she starts sucking on the mushroom, and you're like,
yeah.
Wait, what?
And then later there's like this romantic sequence during another song where they're like in some underground cave, and they're running together and dancing, and then they're falling in love, and they both stop and they look into each other's eyes and they kiss, I think. And then she does some magic stuff with his hands, and he's like, wow, that's crazy. And then he like looks down, and they both look down, and it feels like they're both looking at his junk. And you're like, what is happening? And then like it cuts away, and they're just both flying, and you're like, oh, so you're just flying. But you definitely were just looking at his junk, and then so then the movie goes on from there. But
and then he starts grabbing her by the hair, and you're like, wait, what?
Yeah. Yeah. If you saw this movie as a kid and you liked it, don't watch it again, because it doesn't hold up. But if you haven't seen it, it's probably worth checking out for. I don't know, maybe if you have seen it, it's worth going back for. It does not hold up as if when you were 10. But
it's really unclear whether you recommend this or not.
I'm trying to decide whether or not I should. If you got kids and you want to watch something pleasant, check it out. But if you want to watch an animated film like by yourself, maybe pick something else.
Oh yeah, definitely. If you're watching it on your own, definitely pick something else. Yeah.
I don't know where I'm going to put it on my movie ranking list, so it'll be.
I remember it being on, some VHS thing, like being one of the previews. Maybe it was like Home Alone or one of the Ninja Turtles movies or something. It's like, oh yeah, see FernGully. It's this magical movie. And then
I wonder which came out first, Aladdin or FernGully. 92.
What? I mean, they don't really relate to each other.
They both have Robin Williams doing a crazy voice acting.
Oh, you're right. They do. Get ready for a movie versus movie, Dawn of Jill.
Yeah, Aladdin is 92 and FernGully is, what did I say? 92. Wow, huge year for Robin Williams voice acting.
Interesting.
Yeah, and that's all I got for FernGully, The Last Rainforest. Matt, you watched a movie about a Spider-Man.
Yeah, and you know what that means.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of these movies were in the theater, but okay, so here we go. Some preview corner. Angry Birds 2 is a thing. I got nothing from the preview, so it exists. Then there's a movie coming out called Arctic Dogs, I think. And it seems like it's...
Are these trailers just from Spider-Man or from all your...
No, these are from all the movies.
Okay, I was going to say.
Yeah, there's a kids movie called Arctic Dogs that just looked like it had nothing to offer, in spite of having a pretty big ensemble cast, but like an ensemble cast that's all of these like not quite that famous people. It's just like the opposite of having Robin Williams doing a voice for your cartoon. And then I saw a preview that I was like, remember when they were talking about having James Bond be Idris Elba, and like people got all pissed off because they're racists, and so it looked like, oh, this is going to be a Black James Bond movie. They're doing it as a cartoon, but then he got turned into a bird.
Yeah,
and I was like, wait, what?
The Will Smith thing.
Yeah,
that trailer cracked me up the first time I saw it. I died laughing watching that.
Well, I definitely didn't see it coming that he was going to turn into like a pigeon. So there's that. And I think it might be called Spies in Disguise, but I'm not quite sure.
That sounds right.
And then apparently there's a new Addams Family movie, and it looks like they took everything that made the Addams Family enjoyable, and it's not there.
New Addams Family?
Yeah, this one's going to be a cartoon.
Oh, God.
Yeah, and it turns out if you have these characters not with, actors with charisma, then they don't really look like they have that much to offer.
Oh.
I saw another preview for Dora the Explorer, and there was actually in this preview there was one joke that broke the fourth wall, and I've never seen Dora the Explorer, as you might expect, but I still got the joke, and it was really funny. Like, kind of like, I think the joke might be something like, can you say eucalyptus? And she's like looking at people, and they're like, what? It was kind of funny. Then I saw a preview for Trolls 2, which, to my understanding, made rock music look like it wants to kill everyone. Apparently the plot is that there are different kinds of music, and I don't know, it's like the Infinity Stones or something. Like each stone is a different kind of music, and apparently rock is bad. Lion King 3D. I don't even know what that means. It's not. I guess it's in 3D. I don't know. Anyway, still looks like great CGI. Still feel kind of mixed about it. Weird magic creatures, garden gnomes, awkward. I don't know what that means. All right, so there may be a movie that has garden gnomes in it. I'm not quite sure. Lion King again. Damn, that's good CGI. All right. Terminator 6.
Dark Fate.
Is that what it's called?
Something like that.
It's got Linda Hamilton in it, so I'm interested. But boy, it looks like, and again, like I don't think special effects are the reason to go see a movie. But man, they're just phoning it in a lot. I was watching the preview going, this looks like the same, like actually like the effects aren't even as good as like just Terminator 2 effects. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, man. And then it seems like there's someone in the movie who's part robot, and they're saying like, no, I am a human. And I'm like, is this the same thing as Terminator Salvation, where the person thinks they're human, but they're a robot? And I'm like, maybe the Terminator series is done. You know, like maybe they ran out of ideas. Let's just stop.
Yeah. Well, this one's got James Cameron involved, which is the only reason why I'm interested in the least.
Yeah, I'm willing to kind of go back to it, you know, and see what it's like, because I didn't bother with Terminator Genesis. And I don't know. But anyway, it exists. I got a typo here, so apparently Brad Pitt is in space. I don't know why there's gravity near a space station, but it looks like there's some serious gravity going on there. And then I saw another preview for Joker, and the only thing that really came to me from that was wondering how it's going to relate to Suicide Squad 2. And I'm pretty sure it doesn't. Like, it's just going to be some sort of standalone thing. Mm-hmm. But it is kind of weird, you know. It's just like we're flooding the market with all these different comic book things, and like, so it is going to be strange that there's, you know, probably not too long after Joker comes out, there will be Suicide Squad 2, and it's got, you know, Jared Leto or some other Joker in it, and then we'll have the Batman coming out, and I'm just going, I'm okay. You know, it's obviously okay to have the comic books, you know, throwing out these sort of standalone things, but it's weird when we have a mix of things that seem to stand alone and these universe building things at the same time. It's just getting really murky.
Yeah, it feels like to me it feels like if the Joker movie is a success, they're just going to go forward with that as the Joker. Mm-hmm. And if it's not, they'll go back to the Jared Leto Joker, and they'll just be like, that was an Elseworld story, you know. Huh. Like I feel like they're going to pick and choose what becomes part of their cinematic universe, which is cheap.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it just seems like more of like they don't know what the hell they're doing. Yeah, these DC movies are just
they're just throwing spaghetti at the wall.
Spaghetti specifically.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, I'm with you. Yeah, well, all right. Well, that would be weird. That would be really weird, because as much as Jared Leto sucked, and that whole movie sucked, and that Joker sucked, it's going to be kind of strange if Harley Quinn, as she is in the Suicide Squad movie, is hanging out with this Joker. Like, that's going to be a strange combination.
Yeah.
But anyway, Spider-Man: Far From Home.
All right.
This movie wasn't great. It wasn't okay. So the plot is Tony Stark is dead. Well, that's like 90% of the plot right there. Seriously, there's not a. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but it feels like there's not a scene in this movie that doesn't have Tony Stark's head in the background. It's kind of annoying. It's important to the plot because the character, you know, the Peter Parker character is kind of dealing with the loss of Tony Stark. Uh-huh. Although some of it's not, you're not really seeing him grieve. You're just kind of seeing him overwhelmed. And so he wants to go on vacation, and that's pretty much it. He wants to ask out Mary Jane or MJ, and so stuff happens, like superhero-y stuff, bad things that he needs to do something about, and that's pretty much the plot. The second half of the movie is where the plot kind of gets going. The first half's pretty draggy. It's, I think, meant to be funny, but there's not very good humor in the first half of this movie. And And it even had me wondering if I enjoyed Homecoming as much as I thought I did. And that's a shame because I'm pretty sure I did. But it has me kind of not excited about the idea of ever watching that again. It's not terrible, and once it does pick up, it's like, oh, okay, I'm having fun again here. But it's disappointing that like a lot of the first half is, like jokes around like Ned, his friend, who is kind of annoying in this movie and not nearly as funny, and looks like he's like 35 years old. I'm not sure what's going on there because he's not supposed to have aged 5 years during the what they call the blip.
So they don't call it the snap?
No, they call it the blip. And they do address it a bit. They do kind of explain at the beginning, like, hey, half the people at school disappeared for 5 years. For some reason, some of the folks who were in this school 5 years ago are still here, although now they're 5 years older and handsome. And so Peter Parker's kind of in competition with this one guy for MJ's affection. But, like, seriously, it seems like a fair amount of the charm from the first one is missing from this. The people are a little bit more, just kind of, like I said, kind of annoying. There's a fight scene with a monster creature thing that's made of water, and it feels like it looks about as good as the Sandman did in Spider-Man 3.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's not great. But I think the further I get from this movie, the less I like it. I was having fun in the second half, but a lot of the humor is really clunky and doesn't quite land. And oh yeah, here's a side observation. Jake Gyllenhaal has a Muppet mouth. If you notice his mouth at all in this movie, you're gonna be like, yeah, it's like a flat half circle. It's weird. It's really weird. The interactions between Tom Holland between Peter Parker and Nick Fury in this movie are pretty funny. They're kind of inconsistent, and there's some strange things that by the end of the movie sort of make sense, but still seem kind of weird. Like this new character that Jake Gyllenhaal plays and Nick Fury are like basically like, hey, we're here and we're super powerful. So Spider-Man, who doesn't really want to be Spider-Man right now, what do you want us to do? What's the plan? And like he's always the guy who's supposed to have the plan and be leading things. And like I said, it sort of makes sense, but it sort of doesn't. Like I don't want to spoil anything, so it's like one of those things that kind of makes more sense once a few things have come together. But while you're watching it, it's like, that's weird. And then at the end, it's still kind of like, I don't know, that's still kind of strange. Because there's just this weird dynamic of Spider-Man being in charge, but also being bossed around.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I said, I feel like the further I get from this, the less I like it. And I'm on the opposite way with Toy Story, where I really enjoyed it, and like the further I get from it, the more I feel like I enjoyed it.
Oh, interesting.
It's very Avengers-y. Like, this does not feel like its own movie. Like, Spider-Man Homecoming felt a little bit more like it wasn't in the Avengers universe, whereas this is like, hey, the Avengers aren't here, but this is definitely still an Avengers world movie. It's not a Spider-Man movie. And there's a lot of Peter Parker as the new Tony Stark, but not really. It's hard to talk about without spoiling stuff. Sure. And there are just some things like so he gets a bit of technology at some point in this movie to work with. And let's say he accidentally does something stupid with it, and then instead of solving it in the most sensible, logical, would be the first thing you think of kind of way, it's dumb. And he's got to do this stupid thing instead. And yeah, this movie wasn't great. If you get a chance to go to the theater in the next week or two, I'd say go see Toy Story 4 instead. I think you'll enjoy it. I mean, I don't think you, Nick, will walk away from this not having had fun. But I do think if you're expecting Spider-Man Homecoming again, but just a newer one, you're probably going to be a bit disappointed too.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah. There are some fun spots. There's I guess without artistically, so I'm trying not to spoil stuff here, but there are a few scenes, maybe 2 scenes where there's a different sort of artistry that gets to happen. I mean, it's still CGI stuff, but it's way more abstract than what you're probably used to. And that's pretty cool. And it almost seems like, hey, if this were a ride at Universal Studios, this would be a fun ride right now. And it does work effectively for putting Spider-Man in a weird place where you're like, oh, how's he going to handle this? And so that's pretty fun. And then how he does handle it's pretty not creative, but it's still fine. That's it. This movie's fine. That's the end.
That's how I felt. I think that's how I felt about Ant-Man and the Wasp, where I was like, it's fine.
Yeah.
I don't dislike it. It wasn't bad, but I'm not sure I want to watch it again.
Yeah. I haven't seen that one, but yeah. That's definitely how I feel about this. There are two end credit scenes, and or one's mid credit, and then there's an end credit one. And the end credit one's stupid, and I don't even know why it's there. But the mid credit one is pretty cool. It might be the funnest part of the whole movie. So it's kind of a shame that it's not actually part of the movie. Yeah. So that's it. Oh, and Happy Hogan, and which is just a terrible name, and Marissa Tomei or Aunt May have a love thing going on. There's a lot of love things going on in this movie, and when it comes to the stuff with Peter and MJ, it's great. I kind of liked her in the first movie anyway. I know you weren't a fan of the whole oh, my name's MJ, but she's great in this movie, and the two of them. Plot of their courting or whatever is the best part of this movie. But you've got these other romantic things going on that are thrown in, and it's this with Ned, it's annoying, and then with Marissa Tomei and Happy Hogan, it's meant to be kind of awkward, but it's really awkward. And maybe some of that's the fact that Marissa Tomei and Jon Favreau do not make a couple.
Okay.
I mean, he just looks like a hairy, sweaty man. So, anyway, yeah, that's it.
All right, cool. Yeah, I'm definitely going to check it out. I just don't know when. Things have been crazy around here. All right. Well, then that brings us to the part of the show we both love the most, where we have to rank the movies we've seen. I'll go first. What did I watch this week? Oh, the Star Trek. I'm going to put Star Trek. Jeez. It's been a long time since I looked at this list. Let's see. I'm going to put Star Trek in the new number 20 spot between Overlord and Dancer in the Dark. And I'm going to give this movie 3.5 stars. And it's a total recommend. Then the other movie I saw was FernGully. And I'm going to put that down. I'm going to put it between... I'm going to put it in the new number 50 slot between Teen Titans, the Judas something, and Batman Ninja. And I'm going to give this movie 2 stars. Yeah, 2 stars feels right. As far as the recommend,
Nick's hardest decision ever.
The question is supposed to be, do you like this movie? Yeah. It's like, would you give it a heart? Like, would you click the like button? And I'm going to have to go with yes.
All right.
Yeah, so that's locked in there.
You heard it here, everybody. Nick wholly endorses FernGully. Go see it as soon as you can.
Matt, that brings us to your list, and you got a whole lot of additions to place
here. So, fortunately, I went through ahead of time and did this. And man, can I tell you, my list is jacked up.
So is mine. I am unhappy with my list.
At the end of the year, however long we go for this list, I'm going to have to do a version of it resorted and just compare them side by side. Because there are things that do not belong where they are. And it makes it pretty hard to place things.
Do you still feel confident about the number 16 placing of Dark Phoenix?
It could probably go a little lower. It's probably not, it's all right. Brightburn should be moved down further than it was. Trying to place, well, here, I'll go in order and I'll tell you when I get there.
Okay.
So Tremors is going right under The Sixth Sense.
Oh, in between Avengers Endgame and The Sixth Sense in the new number 6 spot.
Yes.
Tremors.
And then in the new number 7 slot.
I'll stand by. How many stars would you give Tremors?
Oh, right. How many do I have? 5?
5. You can go half.
4.5.
4.5. And I'm guessing that's a recommend?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then in the new number 7 slot is Toy Story 4.
Wow. All the way up there. Toy Story 4. 122. And how many stars for Toy Story 2?
For Toy Story 2?
I'm sorry, for Toy Story 4.
Yeah. I will give Toy Story 4 4.5 stars.
4.5 stars. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's
I'd give it 4.25 if I could, but yeah, total recommend.
All right. And then what came next for you?
Okay. And so this is the tough one. Because then I've got Spider-Man Far From Home. Mm-hmm. And I'm looking at putting it between, I don't know where it goes in relation to the John Wick chapters 2 and 3, because I put them together. It doesn't seem as good as some parts of Bumblebee, but it's better than other parts. And then I feel like it's not as good as Snowpiercer, which is 2 slots lower. So I'm going to go ahead and put it between John Wick Chapter 3 and Bumblebee.
Wow. Well, see, I have John Wick Chapter 3 and then 2.
That's fine. Then put it between John Wick Chapter 2 and Bumblebee. That's
okay. Well, it's still pretty high up there on the list.
Yeah, I know. It doesn't feel right at all. This whole thing is just, it's gone off the rails.
How many stars would you give it?
2.5.
2.5. All right. And would you recommend it or like it? Would you click the heart?
No.
No.
I wouldn't click a heart, but I might recommend it. I don't know. It's hard. I'll give it a soft yes. I know it's just yes or no. But
okay.
We'll go with yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. I might just, once I've had more space from it, I might be less dealing with the disappointment, or I might just hate it more and more. Let's find out. A couple months from now, I'll tell you where I'd rather put it.
We'll have at the end of the year, we'll have our list review episode.
Yeah.
Sounds thrilling.
Well, and sometime soon we'll have to do the Marvel hierarchy thing now that I've seen the Spider-Man movie.
Yes. Yeah, we'll have to do that, of course.
And I am scrolling down. What is my next movie?
Godzilla?
Oh, yeah, Godzilla. That is going in between The Mummy and Ocean's 8.
And it's the new number 51 spot.
Actually, no, this should go even lower than I'm looking at some of the other things on the list here. Nope, we're moving it lower. Hold on. Cut. And we're going to paste that under The Boy.
Better than Dumbo.
Yep.
But worse than The Boy.
Yep.
Which is a movie you've seen like 8 times now.
Too many times. Way too many times. But I remember seeing it in the theater and not wanting to smash my head in, which isn't true for Godzilla King of the Monsters.
I think they're making a sequel to The Boy.
Oh, God.
I think. Maybe I dreamed that.
It's a weird dream, but...
Yeah, I don't know. How many stars for Godzilla 2?
1.
1 star. All right. And I'm guessing that's a no.
No.
All right. And then didn't you have one more?
I did. And it's going between Signs and Glass. And that's Hellbaby.
You liked it more than Glass. Hellbaby. Let's see. But still better than Aquaman. 1, 2. Not as good as Contagion, though, which is, how many stars for Hellbaby?
1.
1 star.
Yeah, this whole section of my list, Contagion, Signs, Hellbaby, Glass, The Shape of Water, those are all like movies that I hate in part because they think they're something.
And that's a no for Hellbaby from you.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, great. Matt, anything to plug this week?
Man, I swear I had something, but I'm blanking right now, so I'm going to go with no.
All right, nothing to plug, but if you would like to see what Midwest Matt has recommended in the past, check out the website, thisweekinfilm.com.
Wait.
Oh my God, breaking news.
Yeah. If I haven't ever recommended it before, I've been listening to a show called Behind the Bastards, and that's a podcast, and it's a pretty awesome way to get some basic, like, history on certain people. Like, recently they did the Kim Jong-il, Kim Jong-un, family tree history stuff. So, like, check that out. Behind the Bastards.
Okay. And there'll be a link to that show on the website, thisweekinfilm.com. And you can find out anything else you want to know about the show there. You can get in touch with us if you like by contacting us on the various social medias, or you can send us an email at thisweekinfilmpodcast@gmail.com. And I think that's going to do it for the show. Matt, you got anything else?
No, that's it.
All right. Well, if that's the end of the reel, we'll see you next week in film.
See you then.
It has happened. I watched it happen. I saw it happen. Don't tell me it didn't happen.